Elizabeth Holmes was always competitive. She was good at science. She was accepted into Stanford University in 2002 to study chemical engineering. She told her family that she wanted to be a billionaire. Holmes wrote a patent in a few days without sleep. It involved an arm patch that could diagnose and even treat medical disease. She was so confident of her idea that she decided to turn it into a business. Her new firm combined the words therapy and diagnosis. Theranos. Eileen Lee coined the term unicorn in an article for TechCrunch in 2013. This meant young, unlisted tech companies valued at least $1 billion. She counted 39 of them. They were all able to raise huge amounts of money in private funding without going to the stock market. The most famous example of a unicorn at the time was Uber, valued at $3.5 billion, and had raised $361 million from investors. By 2014, Theranos rose from valued at $165 million to $9 billion. Elizabeth Holmes was worth $4.5 billion. Here is Holmes on CBS This Morning.
I work all the time, and I'm basically in the office from the time I wake up and then working until I go to sleep every day.
Today, Elizabeth Holmes has a net worth of $0. There's a cost to manipulating reality. If you're right, then the ends justify the means. You're the visionary you believe you are. If you're wrong, people get hurt. In the wrong field, they could even die. Wall Street journalist veteran John Carreyrou came to the Theranos story in 2014. He was contacted by pathologist Adam Clapper, who doubted that the company's much-lauded finger prick blood tests could ever work. He smelled a rat, but felt he couldn't go up against an extremely litigious tech behemoth. Clapper needed an investigative journalist. The result was a series of articles by Carreyrou in the Wall Street Journal, questioning the veracity of Theranos' claims. Those articles led to Carreyrou's 2018 book, Bad Blood: Secrets and Lies in a Silicon Valley Startup. In this book, Insight, we'll chart the rise and fall of Theranos. We'll go into the people involved and the events as they unfolded. We'll look at the combination of technical failure, toxic culture, and hubris that ruined the company. Shaunak Roy developed a pinprick blood test in the Stanford University lab. The test was simple and painless, a huge attraction for millions of people who hate needles. Holmes made him co-founder of Theranos. The small team developed the concept further. The finger is pricked, then a couple of drops of blood go into a small cartridge. You insert the cartridge into a toaster-sized box. In the box, data is read and sent to a cloud server. The analysis results would beam back to the reader. Patient diagnosis would be painless, quick, and accurate. Here's Holmes again on CBS This Morning.
Healthcare is the leading cause of bankruptcy.
You'll see her either in a black turtleneck or a white lab coat, taking a high-tech approach to blood testing. Instead of a needle to the arm, it's a pinprick to the finger. Holmes is marketing Theranos as a faster and cheaper alternative to a process that hasn't meaningfully changed in decades.
Holmes combined charisma with an entrepreneur's hyper-optimism. Henry Mosley, Theranos' head of finance, recalled that when she was talking to you, her blue-eyed gaze made you feel like the center of the universe. There was only one problem. The system only worked some of the time. In demonstrations Holmes made to pharmaceutical companies, the readings were not in real time and did not relate to the actual samples. Theranos would play a pre-recorded reading of a sample to make it seem there was a live test, similar to Steve Jobs' famously buggy and near-fraudulent demo of the iPhone.
What stands in the way becomes the way. That's something we've all heard in some form or another. I've asked some people in the street if this sounded familiar.
Yeah, that's like the journey becomes the destination. Did I quote that right?
I think I've heard of that before. That's like the way you do something defines what you get at the end, something like that.
Today, I'm exploring how to turn my obstacles into opportunities. For this, I'll be using a book by Ryan Holiday for guidance. It's called The Obstacle is the Way: The Timeless Art of Turning Trials into Triumph. Holiday's book quotes everyone from Abraham Lincoln and John D. Rockefeller to Margaret Thatcher and Steve Jobs. All of these figures had one thing in common: a method for dealing with life's obstacles constructively, rather than being stalled by them. He therefore describes his book as inspired by Stoicism rather than about Stoicism. In this book insight, I'll take a close look at the method of facing problems described in The Obstacle is the Way. Holiday presents it as a discipline consisting of three critical elements: the discipline of perception, the discipline of action, and the discipline of will. They're loosely derived from the ancient threefold model of Stoic discipline found in Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. Now let's start with the discipline of perception. This discipline is about learning to overcome your prejudices and view the problems you face in a more practical and down-to-earth way. It's about getting to the truth of the matter by not allowing problems to upset you, but remaining calm and focused. John D. Rockefeller was a man who saw opportunity in every disaster. He kept a cool head and viewed events cautiously and rationally throughout the Civil War and financial panics of 1873, 1907, and 1929. His company, Standard Oil, ended up owning 90% of U.S. oil refineries and pipelines. Rockefeller attributed his success to the financial crisis of 1857 when he was still a young man. Witnessing the hardship and financial chaos taught him to be cautious, think in clear and objective ways, and look for opportunities when others around him were panicking. Stoic doctrine reminds us that situations in a vacuum are neither good nor bad. The wise person can turn what seems like a bad situation to their advantage. The fool creates problems for themselves and others, even when blessed with good fortune. Holiday borrows the Stoic word apatheia to describe the kind of composure that comes when we refuse to go along with disturbing or upsetting emotions. This doesn't mean being unemotional, but simply refusing to indulge in harmful emotions. Rather than seeing any problem as catastrophic, you should get things back in perspective by reminding yourself, I'm not going to die from this. I prefer Holiday's version. Do I need to freak out over this? Learn to make crisis your friend, not your enemy. He mentions Intel CEO Andy Gove, who once said, "Bad companies are destroyed by crisis. Good companies survive them. Great companies are improved by them." Calmness or equanimity is one of the greatest life skills you can attain. It can bring huge success because it marks you out as a leader, someone to be trusted, just like Rockefeller. It'll also improve your relations because they know you're stable and won't fly off the handle. But all this comes from seeing problems in quotations. They're often no such thing, simply an event that you use to correct your course or find opportunity.
Think about this. What's the atmosphere of your workplace? When you're struggling to master that one thing, is there something getting in the way?
So what we're doing now in the modern workplace is, instead of the deep work, which is the best way to actually take your brain and produce valuable things with it, which is the primary goal of knowledge work. Instead of doing this, we filled the days with these sort of shallow activities, mainly communication, talking about work, sending emails, responding to emails, the video game challenge of trying to stay on top of an inbox without the unread messages getting too large, going from meeting to meeting. None of this is directly related to using your cognitive resources to produce something valuable.
That was Cal Newport on the Model Health Show. For an intensely bright and productive young man, he's extremely disconnected from the networks we cling to. Newport is about to introduce a system of, well, getting things done in the most economic time frame. It's a game changer because this may well be the solution to everything that's holding you back. We know that hard work on its own doesn't always guarantee success. What always guarantees success is a kind of deep, focused work, which stretches your mind and draws on all your knowledge and experience. Successful people don't spend all day doing this kind of work, but it's in their daily routine, because deep work yields insights that account for a large part of their accomplishments. Today, I'm introducing you to a book that is all about achieving success this way. It's called Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. We'll describe how you can become a deep worker and how social media is your greatest enemy. According to Newport, there are two things crucial to career success in the 21st century: the ability to quickly master hard things and the ability to produce better work faster than anyone else. Think of 2 or 3 of the most successful, most productive people you know. Chances are, they've mastered something. It's learning to paint or speak a foreign language or run a company. Each of these accomplishments come from deep immersion. If we want to master something new, say, writing a book or becoming a top coder, we go about it the old clumsy way. No deep focus or immersion, no mastery. We also admire their speed of work as well. We marvel at how quickly a carpenter turns out a perfect chair, or the way an expert writer can knock out a book in 3 months. But these miracles are just the observable result of previous deep work.
Yeah, so I define deep work to be when you're focusing without distraction on a cognitively demanding task.
That was Newport speaking with Brian Johnson on Optimize. Deep work is professional, distraction-free concentration which pushes our cognitive capabilities to the limit. In our heavily networked society, with its endless electronic diversions, this kind of work has become increasingly scarce. And according to Newport, because deep work is scarce, it is more valuable than ever. Think about it. Mediocre work will land you in a sea of competition, either from people or machines. Exceptional achievement, on the other hand, which is always the fruit of deep work, creates a potentially unlimited audience and market for what you do. Let's bring this down to the level of your workplace. Maybe you've been told that you'll be a more attractive or useful employee if you are good at social media. But the truth is, anyone can post some tweets. What companies really value is the ability to do complex work. That generates insights, and those are the goals for knowledge-based work.
When he was 19, Sebastian Junger decided to hitchhike across the northwest of the United States. He found himself by the side of a highway in Gillette, Wyoming, waiting for a ride. While standing there, a homeless man walked up the road towards Junger. The man asked him if he had any food. Afraid that he might be robbed, Junger lied and said he only had a bit of cheese. The man then pulled something out of the bag.
Cheese! Look out, guy!
Relax, it's nothing sinister. The man pulled out a lunchbox with a sandwich, apple, and bag of chips. The man gave the lunchbox to Junger, saying he could see Junger was a stranger to the area.
Was the guy soliciting him for something, or was he from the local church?
No, but in a way you're proving Junger's point. The man just wanted to make sure Junger was all right. Junger was shocked that the man took responsibility for him, as if he was a member of his tribe. He didn't think twice.
What happened to Junger?
He went on to become an award-winning writer and filmmaker. In fact, he was nominated for an Academy Award in 2010 for his documentary on the war in Afghanistan. Here's a clip from the documentary Restrepo.
I want you guys to mourn, and then I want you guys to get over it and do your jobs.
2 months and counting down.
I just don't like the way it is. I don't like how it feels right now.
Many years later, Junger remembered the hitchhiking incident.
That kind of selfless gesture sounds ridiculous today.
Bingo! We've lost something that humans had for thousands of years, back when we lived in tribes. That's exactly Junger's point and what we'll be discussing today. Sebastian Junger's research into the hitchhiking incident led him to some startling facts. People are often happier in times of war than times of peace. Not only that, but sometimes we recall disasters more fondly than we do vacations or weddings.
But why does that make any sense?
Junger came to understand that humans don't mind hardship. In fact, they seem to need it for life to be meaningful. The feeling people cannot bear is that they are unnecessary. Here is Junger from the Joe Rogan Experience.
We are wired to serve ourselves, and we are wired to serve the group. And in a healthy society, those two are in a dynamic tension with each other and in balance. In modern society, there really is no group to serve, and it leads to a really profound sense of meaninglessness for a lot of people.
I think I get it. People want to feel part of a tight group. People want to feel needed and looked out for. It's the purpose of a group.
All these very astute observations led Junger to write his 2016 book, Tribe, on homecoming and belonging.
Okay, but he bummed around for a bit and then made a documentary. What else does anyone know about this guy?
I'm glad you asked. Junger is actually a very interesting individual. He grew up in a quiet Boston suburb. Neighbors had so little contact with each other, Junger almost longed for a disaster to come along and pull the community together. This led him to instinctively put himself in uncertain or dangerous situations like hitchhiking, and later working as a reporter in war zones.
Maybe he was looking to feel the camaraderie or solidarity that's missing from modern life.
Good catch. You may know Junger's name through the movie The Perfect Storm, starring George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg.
I remember that movie. It was the true story of a crew of fishermen stuck out in the Atlantic in the storm of the century.
Junger wrote the book.
How long is Tribe and what's it about?
Well, Tribe is only 140 pages long, but packed with insight. We'll be breaking down Tribe into two parts from two apparently unconnected facts that fascinated Junger. First, in the early days of North America's settlement by Europeans, there had been a large number of white captives of American Indians. After they had been freed, many voluntarily went back to tribal life. We'll be discussing this first point today. And second, in his conversations with soldiers, many told Junger that they didn't just struggle to find civilian life meaningful, they actually missed the war experience. Junger pulls these facts together into one powerful argument about the tribal nature of human beings. The book may make you think deeply about how you live and whether societies work as they should. It ends with a discussion of the detribalization of modern life and the cost that it brings.